Shri Jnaneshwari. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Gopala Krishnaya Namaha. Chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga. Shloka 1. Sanjay said, Krishna spoke the following words to Arjun, who was overwhelmed by pity and who stood with troubled eyes, full of tears and despairing. Then Sanjay said, Oh, listen, O king. Partha was overcome with grief and was lamenting. When he saw his family before him, there arose in him a strange affection, and his heart melted with the warmth of feeling. Even as salt melts in water, or as a cloud is dispersed by the wind, so his courageous heart was touched in a tender spot. He was overcome by compassion and looked like a swan stuck in a swamp. Seeing that Arjun was afflicted by great delusion, hear what Lord Krishna said to him. 2. The Blessed Lord said, What has come upon you at this critical juncture, this infamous dejection, not followed by the noble, nor leading to heaven? O Arjun, does this behavior become of you on this occasion? Think what you are, and what you are up to. What's the matter with you? Do you lack anything? Has anything remained to be done? What grieves you? You never thought of improper things, nor lost courage. Your very name scares away failure to the end of quarters. You are the abode of valor, the prince among warriors. All the three worlds stand in awe of your valor. You conquered Lord Shiva in war and dispatched the Nivat Kavach demons and made the Gandharvas sing your praises. The world looks small in comparison with you. So great are your qualities, O Partha. It is strange that losing your heroic spirit, you are lamenting with face downcast. Think for yourself, O Arjun, how wretched you are with this compassion. Tell me, has darkness ever swallowed the sun? Does the wind ever fear the cloud, or does nectar ever suffer death? Do you think that the firewood can smother the fire? Can the salt ever melt water? Can the deadly poisonous snake die of poisoning? Tell me, can a frog swallow a cobra? Has a fox ever wrestled with a lion? Have such queer things happened before? But you have made such things seem possible. Therefore, Arjun, do not think of such things. Take courage and quickly come to your senses. Give up this folly. Arise and take the bow in your hand. Of what avail is this compassion on the field of battle? Oh Arjun, you are a clever fellow. Why don't you think now? Tell me, is compassion proper at the time of war? It will ruin your present reputation and spoil your chances of going to heaven. So said Lord Krishna to Arjun. 3. Yield not to importance, O Partha. This does not become of you. Cast off this gross weakness of the heart and stand up. Therefore, O Arjun, rid yourself of this grief and take courage. Stop this unseemingly wail of woe. The reputation you have built so far will cease. Think now at least of what is good for you. Have you realized only now that they are your kinsmen? Did you not recognize this before? Did you not know them to be your relations? Then why are you making now this fuss about nothing? Is such a war new to you in your life? There has always been sufficient motive for war. It is beyond my understanding. But, O Arjun, what you have done is wrong. If you stick to this delusion, you will lose your present reputation and forfeit the joys of heaven, as also of this world. Faint-heartedness is not good on such an occasion. It brings disgrace to a warrior in battle. The merciful Lord thus counseled Arjun in many ways. Now listen what Arjun said after hearing this. 4. Arjun said, How shall I fight with arrows with Bhishma and Drona in battle when they deserve our homage? Lord, there is no cause for you to say all this. Think for yourself about this war. This is not a war but a blunder on our part. Our engagement in it will be disastrous, involving the slaughter of our elders. We should be serving our parents and giving them joy in every way. Instead, how can we slay them with our own hands? Lord, we should bow down to these holy men and, if possible, worship them. These are our elders who deserve respect at all times. Moreover, We are indebted to Bhishma and Drona in many ways. When we cannot even dream of enmity with them, how can we think of attacking them face to face? What's wrong with everybody? Woe upon our life that we should use against them the military skills learned from them. Shall I then return this favor by slaying them? Am I the demon Bhasmasur, who should betray those who have granted us favors and blessings? 5. It should be far better to live on alms in this world without slaying these high souled elders. By killing these elders, even though money loving, I should only be tasting joys smeared with their blood. We hear that the sea is calm, but it is only on the surface. Similarly, agitation does not affect Drona's mind at any time. This limitless sky is capable of being measured sometime, but Drona's heart is unfathomably deep. Nectar may turn sour or the diamond may break sometime, but his mental balance will not shake even if provoked. They say that the mother has true love for her child, but the mind of Drona is kindness incarnate. Drona is the fountain of compassion, the mine of all virtues, the limitless sea of learning. So said Arjun. He is not only eminent but also kind. How then can we think of killing such a person? That we should kill our elders in battle and enjoy royal pleasures does not seem right to me, even if I have to part with my life. This is such an heinous crime. Even if their death brings us greater joys, I would rather go without them and start begging. I would even lay down my life for their sake or resort to a mountain cave, rather than take up arms against them. O Lord, what will we gain by killing them? How can we enjoy these blood-stained pleasures? I therefore do not appreciate your reasoning. But Krishna did not like what he heard. So Arjun continued and said, O Lord, why don't you listen to what I say? 6. Nor do I know which is better for us, that we conquer them or they conquer us. Those after killing whom we should not care to live, those Kauravas, stand in array before us. I have told you whatever is in my mind, but you know what is best for me to do in this matter. They for whom we would lay down our lives rather than be hostile to them are standing here with the object of fighting us. I cannot make up my mind what is better for us, to slay them or withdraw from here. 7. My nature is stricken with fault of pity, and my mind is confused about my duty. Pray tell me for certain what is better. I am your disciple. Please guide me. I do not know what is proper for me to do. I am so bewildered by reason of this delusion. When the sight is enveloped by darkness, it cannot even see things close to it. Such is my state. My perplexed mind cannot decide what is good for me. O Krishna, consider this and tell me what is proper in this case. You are my friend. You are all in all to us. You are our teacher, brother, father, and also a favorite god. You have always been our protector in adversity. The teacher does not at all forsake his disciple, as the sea does not part from the river which joins it. If a mother abandons her child, how will it survive? O Lord, you are our only friend, more so than to others. And if what I said does not appeal to you, then tell me quickly, O Supreme Person, what is proper for me to do, which is not contrary to Dharma. 8. Indeed, I see nothing that might dispel the sorrow that dries up my senses. Even if I were to obtain the kingdom on earth, unrivaled and rich, or even the overlordship of lords, the grief that I feel at the sight of these kinsmen will not be relieved without your instruction. Even if I were to gain the world or the abode of Indra, this delusive pity of mine will not abate. Just as a roasted seed planted in fertile soil will not grow even when watered properly, or even as medicine is of no use to a person whose days are numbered, and nothing but nectar can help him, so neither royal pleasures nor prosperity can enliven in my mind, but only, O merciful Lord, your affection will sustain me. With this in view, Nyandev says that Arjun was bit by a snake in the form of delusion, and Lord Krishna, the snake charmer, was there to counteract the poison with his compassionate gaze, and will protect him with his kindness. Arjun was enveloped by delusion as the sun is covered with clouds. Even as in summer the mountain is scorched by conflagration, so Arjun, the supreme archer, had become torn with grief. Therefore, Lord Krishna, overflowing with the nectar of pity, turned towards him like a blue cloud, with his flashing teeth looking like lightning and his speech like rumbling thunder. Now, hear how that generous cloud Krishna will pour and soothe the mountain Arjun and produce shoots of wisdom in him. Listen to this story for the solace of your mind. So says Jnanadeva, disciple of Nivritti. With this, we complete part 1 of chapter 2. Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Hari Om.